and I will call the meeting to order and say good evening. Thank you very much for coming. This is one of a weekly series of events which we have on the Camino, and it is my great pleasure to welcome Jeremy Backhouse. I thought I'd just throw that in just as a gag.
The other one.
Yeah, Jeremy Backhouse. We have known each other for a year or two. It'd be fair to say.
How long? How long, Bob? 20 years.
More. You know when you say to someone, "Oh, your oldest child must be about 12 now, and they're 17."
Yeah.
I think it's that. We were introduced because John Trigg went to hear an opera performance in the old Civic Hall in Guildford.
Okay.
And he heard an orchestra playing there, and he said, "Oi, who organises this orchestra?" And they said, so I spoke to John, which was coincidental because I had taught his daughter, Lizzie, the bassoon. Yeah. And then he introduced us, and we've been doing concerts. Wow, I think you'll find it's quite a bit longer than 20 years, but never mind. So there we are, Jeremy. That's how we met first. So come up to date. How have you been faring in the last horrible 6 months, and what have you been up to?
Well, obviously no conducting. I did one All Souls service up in London in St Luke's Battersea on the 2nd of November, 1st of November, with a social distance group of 9 singers. But other than that, I haven't waved an arm live since March, which is a scary thing. You know, for those of us who, many of the people here present tonight who live on music, who need that drug, it's quite hard. It's quite hard not to do it. But you know, we survive. We do other things. I mean, with each of my choirs, so it's Vasari Singers, which is my London Chamber Choir, and Vivace in Guildford, and Salisbury Community Choir. We've each had different sort of directions. With Vasari, I've learned a new skill, which is designing and typesetting a book, because it is Vasari's 40th anniversary this year. There are great plans, lots of concerts, lots of celebrations, and our founder members, Julian Malcolm Fields, I think it's here tonight, have written and compiled a history of the choir over the last 40 years, and it's being published. Well, I'm picking up from the printers later this week on Thursday, and this is the front cover. If you'd like to see that. So that picture was drawn by a synesthetic artist, or rather painted, for one of our CDs back in 2005. So that's used the cover, but that took me many weeks, because I haven't really designed things before, but I thought I'd have a go, and it's been good fun. So we'll see what that looks like when it's bound and on my desk later this week. So in Vasari, we also, fortunately, we had recorded a CD back in October of 2019 called Heaven Full of Stars. And I'm sorry, this is not going to be a complete plug all evening, but that's the CD. It's kind of contemporary church music based on starry celestial sort of themes.
I'm sorry, doesn't this stuff normally come in the advert break when we all go off for a pee?
Yeah, get out of the way. And if you're very lucky, I might play a track later. So that was so we had a big launch of that again online earlier this month, which we did a film for. That was a half an hour broadcast on YouTube and Facebook premiere, and then just zooming really for Vasari, zooming each week and singing through tracks to our discography. Similar sort of thing in Vivace down at Guildford. We straight away went to zooming and gradually built the numbers up, which is good. We did a video of You'll Never Walk Alone, which is a fantastic arrangement with the Frari Brass Band, which is a local Guildford-based brass band, fantastic players. So we put that together, and that's, as a Liverpool fan, it was did well for me. And then in Salisbury, that's been less. They've been a bit more nervous about getting back. We did have a social meeting at the end of August, just meeting in the school playground where we rehearsed, and then we did actually have a kind of rehearsal at the beginning of September, where we had 2 groups of 25 come in and we just sang through a few things. But that didn't last, because I think people were getting nervous and the numbers were going up again. But we are about to go back to, or go to Zoom sessions with them as well. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of conducting the computer to muted singers.
Yes, there's no way around it, is there? Although I think if you're on a network, there is this low latency thing. So at Guildhall, the symphony orchestra, they have a concerto competition every year, and they ran the concerto competition by having the soloist and conductor in one room, the strings socially distanced in another room, and woodwind, brass, and percussion in completely separate rooms in the building.
Yeah.
But they're using some very expensive kit that they call low latency. So the delay is virtually zero. All working on cans, and it was amazing. The result was amazing. It was really, really tight.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think the kit is out there, but it's
yeah,
it's great.
Well, our friend, that's outside our remit, I'm afraid.
The stay-at-home choirs and Gary Malone and stuff, which are fantastic, does fantastic work. He has a huge amount of resources to be able to do these great projects.
But however, I don't think it's not all in the resource. I mean, I think there is an honesty which needs to remain in the recording world. I won't tell you which one it was, but I did see on Breakfast TV a virtual choir, and forgive me, they were all middle-aged ladies. Now, I love middle-aged ladies personally, but that's a preference. And then they're all singing there, and they played it, and it sounded like there were 3 boys from King's College, Cambridge.
Oh, really?
Singing. Now, the amount of digital jiggery pokery that must have gone into that, because they're just it's not that one's better than the other, but they're just different beasts.
Yeah.
And I mean, that this so why we're here tonight is part of my Camino project, which is this pilgrimage thing which we're making, and we actually have a complete. Thank you, Liz. Please feel free to make funny comments in the chat, because it livens things up when we get too boring. I mean, we have an absolute pleasure. We never ever mute anybody. We might manipulate them a bit, but we don't mute anybody, because that's just not right. And okay, so it doesn't sound as good as the BBC singers. Bad luck. That's not what we're aiming for. So this has been one of the most exciting projects for me of anything, really.
I agree with that completely. I mean, Vasari obviously is my top class choir. Even in the Salisbury Community Choir, which I love, often say to me, why do you keep coming to us? We must be awful compared with Vasari. Well, it's not about that. It's not comparing different choirs, because you cannot compare them. Some of my most exciting and rewarding experiences have been conducting that choir, which you would spend perhaps 18 months learning a piece. I mean, we did the Britain St Nicholas in Salisbury Cathedral, the packed Salisbury Cathedral. It took us 18 months to learn the bloody piece. Long time, but they were fantastic. They learned it. They had it pretty much from memory, and that experience of performing that piece, having spent so long with it, was really, really quite moving. It was terrific. It was terrific. And so it's not necessarily the quality of the singing. It's the achievement. It's punching above your weight, which is exciting.
100%. No, I love it. Yeah. So we're pottering along.
What pieces have you done? Tell me about what you.
Well, we operate on a 4-week step, let's call it, along the footpath of the pilgrimage. So we started with Ave Verum, a nice, safe pair of hands, and we got the Sinfonia strings to play as well. So that made it very, very special. Then we had a Foray, Agnus Dei. So that was step 2. Step 4 was definitely Brook. No, what was step 3?
I put you on the spot here, haven't
You
I?
have. Come on, somebody help me. Liz, anybody?
Somebody chat. Put it on the chat.
Yeah. It has been a very long day, by the way. So that's my cop out. That's ridiculous.
Step 3 was the Bruckner, wasn't it? Step 3 was Bruckner.
Yeah. And step 4?
Brahms.
Very good. Very good. I was just testing you, Alison. Yeah. So step 3 was Bruckner Lockesiste.
Yeah.
Also Safebra. Then Wie lieblich.
Right.
In German.
Lovely.
It's quite interesting because there are some people who said they would not rejoin if we did it in English, and some people who left because we did it in German. So as we well know, you can't please all the people all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And so now we're doing Berlioz' Shepherd's Farewell.
Yes.
In English.
Yeah, I think something you can do in
yeah.
I mean, the French version of Shepherd's Farewell is beautiful. It sounds fantastic in French because it's the original language. But as a Christmas carol, you would always do it in English.
Mm-hmm.
Brahms, I would tend to do in German all the time.
Mm. And the conclusion we came to was that because he wrote so beautifully in German, it became easier.
Yeah.
It's not as scary as you might think. So then we're going to have a series of Christmas concerts, online Christmas concerts, including the Berlioz, and we're doing some carols, and we're doing a cooperation with the St. Bartholomew the Great.
Okay. Yeah.
Rupert's choir up there, so they're doing some stuff as well. And then after Christmas, we're doing Vivaldi Gloria, some movements from with the Baroque band.
Oh, brilliant!
So this is quite exciting.
So these are all videos that you string together.
Yes. Yeah.
You've got a good technical team who work hard.
Yeah, very good. It's a lot. It's a very intensive, lot of work to do.
Yeah, yeah. But if they're doing it on a regular basis like that, I think it's they're at it pretty much constantly.
And the other thing that I think we hadn't realised that we had something to be very proud of is that we turn it round so that you start on day 1 of a 4-week period, and you listen to the final video recording on the final day of that 4-week period.
Right.
having rehearsed it, recorded it, mixed it, and so on. And there are a couple of guys the other night were saying that they've been involved in online projects where they haven't heard or seen the result for 3 or 4 months. Well, I don't see much point. There's no connection.
Well, immediacy, don't you?
No. Anyway, Berlioz. So give us a hint. What on earth can we do with the Berlioz? What I mean, you must have done it 100 times.
Yeah.
And any disasters? Any interesting things? Any tricky bits we have to think of, or is it just simple, and because it's simple, it's bloody hard?
I think it's the latter. I think it's simple. It's simple. It's simple. It's deceptively simple.
Uh-huh.
It's really hard. It is really hard. It's for me. It's obviously the interest is in the soprano line. They have the tune. So basically, alto tenor basses are supporting soprano line, but that soprano line has got to be incredibly and intensely legato for me. It's singing through. It's the support of getting a really good, strong legato line, and which will also help with the tuning, because tuning, of course, is a tricky thing. Not getting up to the higher notes of the sopranos, but as you can, it's so easy to let the tuning sink and those passages. And I think that's one thing to be aware of. Around bar, I've got the score in front of me. It goes from the sharps, the E major. That's an obvious place, because you're relaxing, you're coming down, and it's that's always an arrow up, an eyebrow up place for me. There's another little thing which is a kind of hobby horse of mine. Piece is it's like in bar 10, should we say, where with humble love, and he changes the rhythm in verse 2, doesn't he? and we get people with humble love and holy fear, which sounds ugly, Bob. It sounds ugly. But the reason that's there, it's like that, is because it's in the French.
Yeah.
Sentir. So it goes sentir, which is more natural. So you have to avoid going love and holy fear for me.
Absolutely. This is the detail we're aiming for.
Yeah. What do you do with the third time in bar 28 for the third time? Where it says crotchet, dotted crotchet for the third time.
What bar number? Do you know what bar number that is the third time round?
No.
5, 6. I can find it. This is God Go With You.
Yes.
After the pause, is that where you're looking?
It's after it's on that pause. It's on that pause.
Mm-hmm.
Guide you safely through the wild. So for that last time, it's a dotted crotchet, whereas the first and second times around, it's just a crotchet.
I'm afraid we're doing it the same each time.
Yeah. Okay. See what I've
security.
Yeah, because that last verse is 4 P's. It's very, 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 very soft. And I try to go through because it's a dotted crotchet. I try and go through without a breath there. You may just have people collapsing. It's quite a nice effect just to change things that third time round. Through the wild, God Go With You.
Yeah. Sadly, I know exactly what you're saying. I took an executive decision to go in a slightly different direction, and as we've now had our basses and tenor sectionals, it would be a tricky thing to change halfway through.
Indeed, yeah. So have you got some basses for the bottom E's?
Yeah, we've got some pretty strong ones.
Yeah, good.
But I am allowing the first bass to sing the octave because that's it just reinforces it.
Right. Okay.
And as we've got violas, cellos, and basses, it'll just meld into that.
Yeah.
You've gone a bit. You've just gone a bit. I don't know. The sound went a bit funny.
Okay.
Oh, better. Maybe come back.
So how long have you been working it? When did you start this?
We started a week and a half ago.
Right. Okay.
And it's an interesting process. I've just been having come out of a sectional rehearsal, which is not a rehearsal. I've been trying to explain it to my wife, who's she's not a muso, but she is interested in music. And fundamentally, for everything to do with pitch, we are handing the responsibility to the singers because there's very little. You can't really do very much. Yeah. Now we do have an accompanist who coaches people if they need extra help, but we prepare very, very tight learning resources. So we combine MIDI voices with real voice, with professional voices, and a click. And so there's a very, very clear and voice dominated. So there's a very clear, very easy way of learning it. I mean, a lot of people know this very well, but if they don't, they've got resources to learn it. And it's really it's an individual responsibility.
Yeah.
We can tour in those sectionals. We talk about the coordination, what kind of breath, whether it's a momentum breath or a natural breath or a big breath, all those kind of things. Sorting out the scaffolding, as it were, but then it's really up to the individuals, and the improvement that we've seen in the last 4 steps. It's fantastic. It's really the amount of work. If you could calculate the amount of time that all these people put in individually, not just turning up on a Thursday and being shouted at. It's a very different animal.
It is, yes, and I think we're all learning as we go through this. I mean, over the last few months that the online resources become absolutely crucial. If they're there, if you have a CD to play, then I think it makes life so much easier, not just for me as a conductor, you as a conductor, but for the recipients of these resources. That's something in which you can fall back. It helps a lot in the confidence, because it essentially it's glorified karaoke, isn't it? You're just on your own in your room doing it yourself. So it's personal responsibility kind of thing. If you have resources, those connections with online material, then it's much more.
And nobody ever joined a choir expecting to be singing at a concert and everyone else stops singing.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the equivalent, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, in the choirs which I audition, people say, "Well, hey, this is worse than going to the dentist," sort of thing. I said, "Well, I know this is a completely unnatural thing because you join a choir to sing with your mates and lots of bodies around you. But so doing an audition on your own with me and the pianist listening is completely alien and unfamiliar. But actually now people are doing it all the time. I mean, they may not have people listening to them so much, but they're on their own, and it's a scary thing."
Mm.
I mean, one of the videos, the Vivace video of "You'll Never Walk Alone," I thought, well, I'll have a go at this, see what it's like. And it's really hard. I found it dreadful.
I've done the same. Yes.
Yeah, just awful. Oh my goodness. I'm not sending that in. Too embarrassing.
I did the same right at the start of step one, and because of my experience on that, I've got a partner on this project, Matt Buswell. I think you know Matt as bass baritone, superb singer. So he does the vocal coaching, and I do the sort of organising, and he oversees the editing. And because of my experience of finding out how difficult it was, I never ever allow him to play me anybody's individual track.
Right.
So I don't, because it would be unfair. So I never ever hear anybody sing.
He does that completely himself, does he?
He did it when we started. I mean, when we started off, we both did everything all the time, and gradually, as we get a little bit more stable, we're bringing in more professional help.
Yeah.
On the editing, so we started with MIDI voice and piano, MIDI voice and MIDI piano as a learning track, which is pretty soulless, and actually very difficult for coordination because the MIDI voice is so vague. So now we're paying Royal Holloway Chapel Choir to record themselves, and we mix that with MIDI and so on. So we're gradually, as it gets more established, we're able to fund more professional help.
Yeah.
But he still oversees all the editing.
Yeah,
it's great. He's great. It's been an absolute joy to work with him. He's a great singer. He's got a great musical head on him. He's got a very wise business head.
right.
And the best thing about our combination is he's 36 years younger than me. So we have very similar, but we end up in the same place, but we come at things from very different angles, and it's been really refreshing.
And how have how I'm sure it's been received in a very positive way, but what sort of numbers are you reaching?
We get normally 120, 130.
Actually, on viewing it.
Viewing. I don't know about viewing. No, that's the participants.
Yeah.
He could rattle off. Someone may remember what he said. I mean, I think we're talking thousands.
Yes, I mean that's been one of the revelations for Vasari. We would have, to launch our CD, we would have done a live concert in South London Church, and we would have had a great time. It would have been fantastic singing, and we would have had perhaps 250 people there.
Yeah.
But actually, having done the film, it went worldwide. People watching from literally all over the world, and we had thousands of people watching it, which is, as far as our outreach is concerned, it's terrific. And as your friend was saying before we started, we did Spem and Allium come and sing last weekend. And people again from all over the world, from Qatar, from Portugal, from Belgium, from the east coast of the United States, from all over the world. Which just, of course, if we'd done it again in our local venue, would never have had. This is a silver lining for us.
Yeah, there are definitely minuses.
Yeah.
But the simple philosophy of life, you cope with the minuses and you enjoy the pluses.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think you can take the pluses on into hopefully post-COVID, post-COVID rehearsal performances in terms of streaming.
I mean, we know we'll never go back to how it was. We don't know how exactly it will be, but I'm certain that there's going to be a combination, a mixture of the online thing will because the online thing gets better and better. and it will, in a year's time, it will be much better than it is now.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think there'll be a mixture for lots of reasons.
Yeah, I think that's right. So, what are your ultimate aims with Camino? To do a mile of
Well, all right. One of them is to do a cruise which goes to Santiago.
Oh,
That would be fantastic.
I think get plenty of people in line for that, wouldn't you?
I'd say so. I think it. I don't. At the moment, I can't see an end.
Mm.
I think, as I say, I think there'll be a blended mixture of activities going on post-COVID, and the professional harpsichord lady who lives up north and doesn't live anywhere near a decent choir that sings with us. She'll carry on and multiply that, and I think I suspect people will find a mixture of the two. Some will only sing live, some, if they're got travel problems or mobility problems or anything like that will absolutely latch on to the online thing and keep going.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think there will be those who will be itching to get back to live rehearsal.
Yeah,
but I think there will be an element of those who will be grateful for windy, wet December nights and going out to rehearsals and the comfort of healing. I think, yeah, I think
so I'm going to suggest, Jeremy, I'm keeping an eye on the time. I'm going to suggest that maybe I could throw the meeting open in case anyone's got any comments about what they're doing or what you're doing, or any questions for you or anything like that at all.
Sure.
But I can't see all the screens at once, so please wave a hand and I'll flip backwards and forwards and see if anybody has any questions or comments. Why isn't Rose here? She always has questions. Jill, I can see Jill waving.
Hello, both of you. This is great. I just wondered if Jeremy has any live concerts that are in the immediate future. When does he think that you may be able to get back to the way things were?
Well, it's a very, very interesting question, Jill. Thanks for asking. But the answer is no. I have no live concerts in my diary at all. We have plans in all of the 3 choirs. We have plans to do things, but I think those plans need to be very flexible because of the situation. I think realistically there won't be any live rehearsing until Easter, probably. So we can't really put on concerts until maybe May, June, probably. And I think that would be the earliest, which is sad because it's what we do and what we love doing and what keeps us going, really, and our soul and our heart, and we love doing it. But I think realistically it's going to be well into next year before we get to live performances again.
Okay, thank you.
Hope for the best and plan for the worst.
Yeah. I mean, I remain optimistic, but not always positive.
Anyone else? Peter.
I sang with a choir at one time where it wasn't a regular weekly rehearsal. You got together for the last month for the performance, but prior to that, it was over to the individuals to organize their own sectionals. And I'm just thinking, I've not met that since, but with this Zoom having developed, that would be the venue for people to organize their own sectionals. And for some of us, that would be much appreciated. Would you say? Would you say that's a possibility for the Zoom?
Yes. I mean, I'm a great believer in personal responsibility for your own performance. Of course, it's up to the conductor to draw the performances together. But I think, as a singer, you don't want to come to a concert being underprepared. And I as a conductor can only do so much in the rehearsal, and if that person in the choir is underprepared, then it's up to them to make sure that they know the notes, that they can sing it, they know the whatever. And I think taking responsibility for sectionals online would be a great way forward. It would be a great way forward if people can take the initiative. I mean, some of the tenors in my Guildford choir, I think, are still meeting for more social.
Is that the whiskey club?
Something.
And obviously, it centers around somebody with a keyboard or some instrument, and also the ability to turn out the notes for
Yeah.
everyone.
Or if they have access to the resources, online resources, they could use those possibly by sharing sound through the computer. Yeah, and it's great. I think anything of that sort is good.
Yeah,
that was one of the features of the last couple of cruises that we did. That there would always be people. We had set times for rehearsing, and I always tried to sort of not minimize, but keep the rehearsal time down a bit, because people were there to have a holiday as well as sing. And you've got some people who would sing all day, and some people who wanted to sing for half an hour and do all the other stuff that you do on cruise. But there was always little groups of altos or basses or something going off and finding a piano in a corner and just having, driving their own rehearsals, and that's really positive.
Yeah, I think that's a sign of a good setup. I think where the singers themselves take themselves off, because, like I said, I think Peter was earlier, that personal responsibility within a choir is really important.
Now, any more hands waving at me? I can't quite see. It looks like not. Alison's waving, but I think she's just waving to the waiter if she wants another gin and tonic.
I have another point. Given that the Shepherd's Farewell is Berlioz, and it's maybe one of the piece that more people know than any other. And if you take Berlioz' oeuvre in general, it's been a very controversial history to do since the composer's death. And I just wondered if you had any comment on that, because I would just say there are those that would put Berlioz along with the other three B's in music, and making them four, and others who would totally disagree. There's still some of that controversy left around. I wonder if you have any comment on that.
Well, it's an interesting question. I think a great composer for me is somebody who is groundbreaking, obviously individual, and has his own distinctive style, but it needs to be groundbreaking, and that's the same with poetry or as a writer. You need to be forging new ground, and I certainly think Berlioz did that in his orchestration, particularly, and in the concepts like the symphonies. His Symphonie Fantastique was completely different from anything else that's been heard. So he's absolutely groundbreaking composer. So I think he's a great composer. I don't always like the kind of the sound his music makes. It's not always to my taste, but I respect what he writes. I wouldn't put him alongside the other three Bs, I don't think, but because they're almost pretty much on a pedestal. But I think a great composer.
Does that include Bernstein?
Wow.
Discuss. Okay, I can't see any more questions floating around, so I think I've got two suggestions now. The first is, could I please ask you all to come unmuted? So come off mute. And given that we know how badly things sound when you try and sing all together, Teresa, are you coming off mute, please? And a vision as well, if you could, please.
Oh, no, it's all right. I've got it.
Teresa, are you there? I don't know if she's there, but if not, she'll have to watch. By the way, this is all being recorded, so if you want to share it with your friends, it will be available in 24 hours. The reason why we're coming off mute, but I think she's disappeared, is because it is.
Let me just text her.
Okay, but be quick. Good night, Andrea. You have to go.
Right. Where's he gone? Oh, bye.
Buonasera.
Bye.
Buonasera.
So in a moment, Jeremy, I think that I wondered if you would be prepared to play us a track from your lovely Vasari album.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
There's some really nice items on there, aren't there?
Yeah. I mean, the one which I love particularly. I mean, I love them all, of course I do. But there's a piece by a young composer called Philip Scott, and this is his Ave Maria, which I think is really beautiful. It's only about 4 minutes long. So I'll just run that through.
Just before you started, I'm going to say, could I please ask you to sing "Happy Birthday"? It'll be chaos because we know it will be.
Done it before.
It is Teresa's birthday today. It's quite a roundish figure. Not the birthday, not Teresa, obviously.
Oh.
So can we please all sing happy? I don't know if she's there, but we'll sing it anyway. Ready? 1, 2, go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Teresa. Happy birthday to you. Hooray! You were there. I don't know if you heard all of it, Teresa. It was rubbish.
It certainly was.
There we are. So,
yes, now I went off to get something to eat. I did hear it. I suddenly heard it and came rushing back.
Great. So I'm now going to revert to the muted situation. And Jeremy, you'll need to unmute and then play us the track from your CD. And then we'll all say goodnight and go and eat something.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, so as I said, it's Philip Scott. It's Ave Maria. It's about 4 minutes long, but I think it's a really beautiful little piece of music. There we go. It's very beautiful, I think.
Brilliant. Excuse me. Loved it. Loved it. Teresa asked it in the chat that she missed the composer, Philip Stopford.
Stopford, Philip Stopford. If anybody were to want to buy the CD,
very good. Right, thank you very much indeed, Jeremy. It's been a great pleasure. It's always a great pleasure just to catch up, but it's lovely to hear your thoughts and about everything. We're still here, and we'll still be here in 6 months' time, and I think we'll all get back together.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. We'll be there.
We will. Yeah. On that happy note, good night. Good night.
Good night. Good night. Lovely. Good night.
Bye.